Let's look at this here. Stock markets have entered a valuation twilight zone, and history tells us that it won't end well. They talk about the parallels between 1990s and so on. I don't have time to get into it all, but if you want to check it out, Financial Post breaks it down. You can see from peak to trough and back again. The Dow Jones Industrial Average has seen numerous booms and busts over the past 120 years, but economic growth has continued in all periods. They just show you that, look, you don't have to worry because everything is going to be okay. They break it down. You can see all of the data throughout this period, PE ratios and so on. But I think it's very clear, as it says here, history shows that when everybody agrees about the stock market, something very different or opposite is about to happen. And isn't that strange the way it works? But you could see the sentiment today. The optimism is unbelievable. We've never seen euphoria like we have today. Nobody is on the other side of the trade. I saw one particular individual who I'm not going to name, but they said the shorts are in. They're shorting the market like crazy. And you look at the actual percentages, and this very disingenuous individual is spreading these lies in order to either out of ignorance, which I don't believe, or to actually mislead people. And that type of information is very frightening because it's getting spread around in the so-called alternative media. They should be ashamed of themselves. Okay? Look at this here. The Federal Reserve has actually told a little bit of the truth. I'm serious. This is not a joke. This is not comedy hour. All right? Look at this. Lost in the shuffle last week amid all the Fed speak about inflation and Friday's shock and jobs reports were comments from the Boston Fed President Eric Rosengren. Look at this quote. My own personal view is that the mortgage market probably doesn't need as much support now, and that's absolutely true. And in fact, one of my financial stability concerns would be if the housing market gets too overheated, as if it's not already overheated. You've got small towns where the prices have surged, 50% year over year. Small towns. This is unjustified. I do think that as we think about tapering, one of the things that we are going to have to think about, a lot of thinking, by the way, is at what speed we taper the treasuries versus the mortgage-backed securities. And I do agree with that. And I've said this, how does buying mortgage-backed securities fix anything at all? Why are they even in this? They started this whole game because of what happened 2007, 2008. And now they're still doing it. It's a fraud. You're being lied to, and people continue to believe it. I want to hammer through these ones. Just some updates really quickly. Used cars, homes, lumber, gas, and chicken. What do they all have in common? They're all getting more expensive. They talk about the prices and so on. But, the point is, it's affecting everything right now, really. This is actually from Visual Capitalist, fantastic resource. And they talk about lumber specifically. They give you really good graphics. This infographic here, which basically just suggests that in 2021, I was unaware that the way that they show you this information, you could see it on a chart, that's one thing, but look at this. In May 2021, 2 1/10 single family units. Okay, that's how much? $50,000 worth of lumber. Let me say that again. $50,000 worth of lumber. You can make essentially 2 single family houses. In May of 2020, you can make 10 single family units. So that right there shows you the devaluation during this period. It's still, if you think about it, the commodity, it's still $50,000 worth of lumber, but suddenly it doesn't get you as much, right? And that happens. You could say, it's a fluctuation and so on. I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen. But it's just interesting to see things priced out in that way. And it basically just breaks it down. The same sort of thing here a little further. And you can go all the way back to 2010 for that same type of information. Look at this right here. Greyhound Canada to cut all routes and end operations. That just shows you that entire industries have been completely and entirely disrupted. We've got this here, this particular individual been working in the building supplies industry for 45 years, talks about all the different things. This is the worst I have ever seen it. 45 years in the game, all right? This right here is showing you what's happening with gas and so on, and how this is creating a problem on top of everything else. So you've got the shortages and everything that's been taking place, supply chain problems and so on. But at the same time, you've got gas prices that are rising. It's just, hitting head to head in this case here. Now, this article here was written by David Rosenberg, and it's in the Financial Post. And he talks about both Canada and the US, but I thought it was interesting because he's in the deflationary camp. But I wanted to make a point about it. For all the bond bears and inflation phobes out there who extrapolate the present into the future and gaze at the various purchasing manager surveys, the statement that resonated the most was that nobody should claim that they have a more extensive network of business contacts than the Fed has it as at its disposal. Basically just suggesting, don't worry everybody, don't have to worry about inflation because deflation is really what's going to happen. The demand isn't there. This is all created by the Federal Reserve and so on. Look, I want to talk about something. And my view personally probably differs from a lot of people. But I'm looking at this crystal ball and, we flip it around and look at it from the other side because I'm trying to get a different perspective on it. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to provide alternative information. You can get the data. You don't need to know that the, unemployment rate 6.1%, inflation rate is this and that. You already know that by the time you watch these videos. You're looking for an alternative perspective. So look at this right here. Deflation. Could it happen? Yes, absolutely. But if you see what's going on with the monetary velocity as it drops down, there is this thought that this will be picking back up. The velocity will be picking back up. Other people say it's going to drop down. I can't tell you what's going to happen. What I can say is that it's looking like we're going towards the MMT, the helicopter money, and the infusion of cash in every direction. And this is coming directly into people's bank accounts. If people start receiving their checks, what happens? People spend the checks, okay? They spend it, and they spend it. Some people save it. Some people decide to, maybe go on a vacation. Maybe some people buy an asset with it, and maybe people invest it, okay? But they're going to spend the money. The majority of the people are going to spend it, whether they are spending it to survive or spending it because they want to buy a new flat screen TV. That's besides the point. They're going to inject money directly into people's accounts, and they're going to drive this home. I don't think people take that into the whole equation, and that's really, to me, very, very key. I'm not talking about the Fed. The Fed's going to do its thing, but I'm talking about the actual government themselves.